there's a lot of discipline and there's a lot of energy.
Yeah.
And so it's just like a pressure washer, when you funnel a lot of energy through a tight window of discipline, you can get a very strong thing come out of it.
Hey everybody, and welcome to Slow Smoke Business. I'm Jared Morgan, and today we got what do they call it back in the day when, like, Saturday mornings, when it was a very special episode of Slow Smoke Business. We've got Hatton Smith here, guys, and a lineup of liquor bottles. When it's probably going to be some trouble for this episode. Hatton, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Excited to be here.
So we are starting to do more in the backyard palace here, having people hang out, and I could think of nobody better to start this off with than my new buddy Hatton Smith. So Hatton is the CEO and founder. As founder, I don't know if you're CEO. You're CEO, right?
Sure.
When you're so Hatton is the brains and the heart behind Campesino Rum. And if you know anything about me, I'm a whiskey guy, but I will tell you, I was super excited to learn that a guy here in this sort of region is actually doing a bunch of cool stuff with rum. And this isn't some like gimmicky whatever. This guy's got the street cred being down where the stuff is made. So welcome to the show, Hatton.
Thank you.
We're going to get into your story and everything else. Also, Hatton is an international man of mystery. I don't know if you can do that, but like these guys flies to other countries, wingsuits. You got to follow him on social media. He does. I thought he was, when I first saw it, I was like, this guy's not real. Like, he's not real. Like, he's not a founder of a rum company jumping off buildings, jumping out of airplanes, attractive women. Like,
what's try it.
Yes. Okay, I don't know. But before we get going, I think we should make a drink, don't you?
Yeah.
So lead me down the path here. What are we doing?
All right, cool. So today we've got, we'll start with an empty glass, but
okay.
You've made this.
Yes.
And so this is a recipe that I kind of sent you. It's
getting a little thick.
Tell me it's butter.
Yeah, it's a rum glaze, and so it's butter, sugar, brown sugar, and and rum, and Campesino rum.
Sounds good.
It's getting a little soupy there.
Yeah, so we're gonna make essentially like a homemade old fashioned.
Yeah,
and
a rum old fashioned.
Yeah, homemade rum old fashioned. So we've got that glaze, and these are a little bit of your fancy bitters.
Fancy bitters. So guys, Campesino rum has two different types. We've got the silver, and we've got the aged, right? Mm-hmm. And so we're gonna go aged in this one. Okay.
Yep. So this would be an aged rum old fashioned. Really, it's an aged rum butter old fashioned with this glaze. So it's going to be really cool. Take your little glazing wand.
Doctor approved. Yeah, we have not touched that to chicken yet, so.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, we hadn't. nothing like a salmonella cocktail,
hey,
right?
Listen, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
That's
I've
right.
definitely had salmonella before.
Oh, really?
Sure.
Oh, jeez.
And
Speaking of salmonella, we should get that raw chicken on the grill over there after we sip on this.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All right.
This is
it's gonna be
is that all for me?
Oh yeah.
Well, I'm not gonna get into it before. I probably should have microwaved that glaze.
Listen,
it's getting a little. Yo,
this is how we like to do it.
It's a nice paste. Yeah. So a healthy look how much he put in his, right?
Listen, you don't.
So
get
I
this
gave
way
I brought
nothing.
a spoon. We didn't have to use the salmonella stick.
You got to remember that I'm used to jungle tactics, so.
He literally
send it.
The bio on Hatton says that he distilled this stuff and what do you call that? Not a distillery, but
it was
a still.
Old, really refurbished beer fermenter that this dude in Montana had slapped a column onto, and then. Yours looks way better than mine.
Why is yours so chunky? I don't know.
That's how we do it.
All
Cheers,
right,
brother.
here we go. Cheers.
Solid.
Oh, yeah. Slam it down.
It's pretty good.
Wow.
Pretty good.
Kind of tastes like Thanksgiving right there. I like that.
I like that, too.
So tell the story. I want to get the chicken going. Let me. So you found a guy in Montana that had a still.
Yeah, there was this dude in Montana, and he was manufacturing stills, and I'm not exactly sure why or really how he brought this rum still to this off-the-grid farm in Panama.
Whoa.
And so I was living down on this farm, and
What were you doing down in Panama?
that's a great question. uh, I really just kind of wanted to go live off the grid, and I really wanted to get like deep into the woods, like as pretty much as deep as I could. And so that kind of led me to live on this farm. No internet, no electricity, like bathing in the river, and I would take these pretty gnarly hikes, like 30 miles in, to what's called the Chagres. It's like a national forest down in Panama. And we ended up setting up trail cams for jaguars. And so there was a lot of jaguars in the area. And, it kind of grew into like an obsession. Like, nothing to do. I like, no television at night, so you entertain yourself through different ways. And so I grew a very healthy obsession with hiking and like trying to get close to jaguars. And
I don't know if I would call that a healthy obsession of getting close to something that could definitely kill you.
Yeah, I mean they're majestic too.
How close is close?
The closest I ever got was one time I was cutting down a tree with a guy to build like a lean-to to like get out of the rain. And we were hacking at this like limb with a machete, and like right out of like the corner of my eye, I saw something small run across the ridgeline. So like more of like a ground mammal. I couldn't really see what it was, and then crashing out of the trees comes this gigantic gray blur, and I thought it was like a mountain lion because it was a puma versus a jaguar. So down there you have really 4 different looking cats. You have classic jaguar, you have the black jaguar, which is gorgeous, super rare, like two-tone black, still has spots, and then you have a gray puma and a black puma. And so this was a gray puma, and it's just running shoulders over paws, like just darting after this thing. And we hit the deck for a second, and then eventually got up and followed it. And so that was like my first intro into big cats.
How old were you at the time?
That was in 2013, so I was 19.
Wow.
Yeah, but like, the whole you've seen like the Tiger King stuff and Carol Baskin, like that obsession with big cats. Like it's so real. Like it really is.
So if you get close to them, you get bit by the bug, right?
Big cat energy.
Big cat. All right, hold on. Are you for real? Like
that's how I feel.
So no, but so you spent how much time did you spend in Panama?
I was kind of in and out until I like left for good-ish.
Yeah.
On my 24th birthday.
So you live a different life than most people probably listen to this show do. You're in Panama. You're doing the rum thing. How do you think about the way you spend your time and what you pour your energy into? Because you're clearly a dude that like has an eye for adventure and wants to go experience things and do stuff. But I think a lot of people do that, and I think the Smith family, if you're not familiar, is the family behind Royal Cup, which is one of Birmingham's like greatest legacy companies. Has been around a long, long time. I personally thank your family for keeping me awake for a lot of years. A lot of really delicious caffeine, right? But like what I think most people are too scared to even do 1/10 of the crazy shit you do. And so tell me a little bit about what makes you tick and why you think, hey, I'm going to run down to Panama and chase pumas.
Well, a lot of people always credit my father's side of the family with World Cup and stuff like that, but they often don't look at my mother's side of the family. So like I think a lot of my willpower comes from like my mom and her side of the family, who have like always been travelers, and not necessarily like tourists, like true travelers, like enjoying traveling and everything that comes with it. And so like my grandfather, he used to be very passionate about hunting sheep, and so he has been all over the world hunting sheep. He has a double Grand Slam in sheep, which is
what
it's like essentially like the Big Five, but for sheep. I don't know terribly too much about it.
That's like, what?
But
Okay.
so he's been all over Kazakhstan and Afghanistan and like all of the places that now you wouldn't traditionally think to go up into the mountains of like Afghanistan. And he like the mountains there are incredible. And so growing up, I would like look at pictures on the wall of him, you know, when he is like, I don't know, maybe in his like younger, maybe in his 40s. I don't know. He like looks like a young man with a gigantic sheep up in the mountains of like somewhere, you know, beyond my ability to conceive of where it is. It's like a mythical land. And
Right.
so if you combine that with, you know, a healthy touch of curiosity, and you wind up in places. I've always been kind of like looking for places that I like aren't supposed to exist. And I was actually driving on the way here. I was thinking about that because you just get up on this little hill right here, and I was just thinking about all the places that I've been recently and how flat Alabama can seem to be.
Yeah.
And about how it's such a blessing to be able to see many different areas of the world because you get exposed to things that you previously didn't know existed.
Right.
Like gigantic rocks shooting out of the ground. Or, you know, like often people think about like Avatar and like the floating tapuis or like the floating islands in the sky.
Right.
And, you know, so I'm always on the quest of like, there's probably a place on Earth that James Cameron saw that mimicked that and put
That
it
brought that
of
like
course,
spark out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I'm pretty sure it is. I'm pretty sure it's someplace, I want to say in like Ecuador or somewhere in South America, because Alex Honnold, the famous climber, the guy
Yep.
from Free Solo, I'm pretty sure he has free climbed one of them, and it's like the atmosphere on the top of the Tapui or whatever it is different than the bottom. And
There's going to be an Avatar fan watching the show that's going to correct you. It's not
yeah,
Tapui.
well, yeah,
It's
I have no
whatever
idea
the hell
what
it
it
is.
is. So she goes to show, like, going back to your question, that's kind of, you know, like, I don't know a lot, but I'm going to go and I'm going to stick my nose in it and I'm going to see what's going on. And so, like, that's kind of how my approach when I really approach, like, traveling or risk and stuff like that is, you know, a healthy understanding and a good curiosity. You'll be amazed where I can take you.
I mean, I think it's an interesting way, but it's an interesting way of thinking. But one of the things I heard you say there was like, it seems like you have this healthy appreciation, even driving over here. Like you've been on these other wild places, and here you are in exotic Hoover, Alabama, right? And
cool.
but you come over here and you see, and you're able to appreciate that. And it's funny to hear you talk about Alabama being flat because, you know, where I grew up in Florida.
Right.
Florida
Super
is
flat.
for sure flat, right?
Uh-huh.
And so I remember when I go back to my hometown and I ride through Pensacola and I'll ride over hills that as a child I thought these were mass. Can you imagine this hill?
Right.
And it's like, you know, now
Right.
like it's nothing compared
Right.
to, but you don't really get that perspective unless you get out and travel and you see some other things. And I think that's, I think traveling is such an important part of understanding what it means to be human. Because I think I think some of the most arrogant and people that feel like they have the world figured out are people that never really left their bubble, and so they kind of figured out the things that are around them, but they don't understand what it means to be human on another continent, or what it means to be human in Australia, or human in place where there's not food,
Asia,
or there's water,
yeah,
right? Yeah, like
somewhere
just
so different,
crazy
yeah.
other places, and not necessarily like in third world countries, but just what it means to be in another first world country, but the way things are totally different.
Yeah.
Like the first time I got a chance to go to Germany, I ended up loving it, but the first 24 hours I was like, dude, everybody here's a jerk.
Yeah,
Like,
right. I was
you
just
just-
in Germany. And
Really? Yeah. And what part?
I was in Berlin.
Yeah, that's where I was. Love it.
I've loved Berlin.
Berlin's phenomenal,
Yeah.
right? But it always takes. So I've been there, I think, 3 times, and it always takes me about 24 hours to like
Get into
adjust.
the German way.
Yeah.
Dude, you got to put on some techno, smoke a cigarette. Like,
right.
dude,
But
that's
once
what I
you
did.
once you figure
Wear some
out,
black.
once you figure out that everyone's not barking at you, that's
Super
just
nice.
sort of they're super warm and
Hello.
genuine, right? And the
German way.
food's phenomenal, and you know it's just and you find that in so many other places, and I don't think you can. It's easier to understand who you are as a person when you've put yourself out of your element, because then you really get a chance to look at yourself the reflection of yourself and go, oh man, I think about things this way, and that's probably a product of I grew up in the South, right? So I think of things a certain way, and then I go to London and I go to Germany or I go to Texas or California, right?
Yeah.
And you see people thinking and doing things a different way. It's not necessarily that one's
Better
wrong,
or worse, right?
right?
Exactly.
It's just different.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's like that 1,000 ways to skin a cat type of thing. It's just like, I mean, the same thing like packing a parachute. I don't know, this is going to be a twist, but there's a million
nervous.
ways to pack a parachute. And what I've learned is you just shove it in there.
All right, seriously, my heart skipped when you said that.
No, but it's the same. It's the same thing. And I do think that traveling opens your eyes up because a lot of times, especially in North America, we can make things so complicated.
Yeah.
Just life itself, we can make it so complicated. Really, at the end of the day, it's like all you got to do is breathe, drink water, eat, and like reproduce if you're lucky.
Dude, yeah,
so
but
like,
I'm shook with what you just said. Like, so what do you mean you shove the parachute in the bag?
Listen, physics is
How many times do you
beautiful
think
thing.
how many times have you used a parachute in your life? Just ballpark it.
I've got just shy of 700 skydives, and I've got like 150 base
Mother.
jumps.
So
I mean,
my producer dude's over here a little shook too. Like
that's really not that much.
You
though.
have okay. We need perspective here. You have turned off the receptors in your brain that tell you what danger is.
This
Clearly,
is a good drink.
This is a good good drink.
It
There's
is.
no salmonella in here. All right.
You need a little bit more salmonella in your life. I can already tell.
I do. Yeah. Let me check. I need to make sure our chicken's doing okay. I don't have my temperature gauges in there. Speaking of salmonella. Oh yeah. So the idea is we're going to try to get this done so that you and I can enjoy this rum glazed chicken. So I didn't even.
good.
Usually I'm talking all about the chicken or whatever it is I'm making. What the hell's going on here? And I got so into the discussion here with Hatton that I didn't even address it. We're making chicken thighs. I've got a healthy amount of meat church on them, and then we're going to hit it with some Campesino rum glaze that we have also used for this
For the drink,
amazing old fashioned.
which we didn't plan either.
No,
I
we
think,
didn't. We definitely did not.
And it just goes to show you when you just have good and quality ingredients on your hands, you can do whatever you want with them.
Amen.
And so, like, if you're grilling at home and you're making your cool rum glaze, why not put rum in your rum glaze?
That
And
rum
drink it.
glaze, I was eating with a spoon.
It's
It's
good.
literally butter.
It's good.
If you want the recipe, it's a stick of butter, a cup of brown sugar, and a half cup of Campesino rum. I went with
aged.
actually, excuse me, I went with the aged.
Yeah,
No,
the
I went with the
aged
aged. And you just boil it down till it's nice and thick, and that's what we got in this bottle here. If you're watching along on YouTube or Facebook or on Spotify where they show the video, you'll see. But how did you? So how did rum become your thing?
It wasn't like intentional at all. I mean, rum has always been my thing because, like you mentioned, I grew up in the coffee business. And
Yeah.
so anytime that we would go and visit a coffee farm, they were growing sugarcane either on the farm or in the area, or that country's main producing spirit was rum. And so I've always been a fan of rum. I can actually remember the very first time I ever had a glass of rum. I was 14 in Guatemala, and I was at the base of a Mayan ruin. And an old man came up to me with a glass and a bottle of rum, and he poured me straight pour, 14 years old, like no facial hair,
Yeah.
no chest hair.
Not well, you probably had it when you were done, but
Yeah, no, that's how I got it. And he poured me a glass, and he said, "Don't ever mix this." And he left the bottle with me, and I snuck it back into my suitcase and flew it back, and now it is at my mother's house in Alabama. My first bottle of rum I've ever had in my life.
was it like an aged darker rum, or was it?
Yeah, it was an aged Guatemalan rum.
How do you get an aged rum?
So rum can be very difficult to decipher for just the common eye because in rum there's the allowance of additives. And so oftentimes you can get a dark rum that is not aged, meaning that they just add caramel coloring to it.
Yeah.
So a true aged rum is actually often aged in old bourbon barrels.
Oh, okay.
So if you're a bourbon fan, if you can find a really nice aged rum, you'll probably enjoy it because it has very similar characteristics to your favorite bourbon, but it might just have different notes to it that strictly come from sugarcane or the aging location. And I
Yeah.
think that's what most people don't understand about spirits is how much of the flavor really comes from the aging process.
Yes. Yes. So that's one of my, being a little bit of like a liquor nerd, right? It's one of my pet peeves when you can always tell when you look at a new liquor brand what you're dealing with when you see how long they've aged it or kind of how they, so it's so typical. Whiskey's one of the hardest games to get into, right? Because it takes so long to make a product that you got to age it for it to be good.
Right.
And so if you see a company we're a startup distiller and we're making our whiskey, how long you been around? Well, we just started this a year ago.
Yeah.
Like it's just that whiskey. Remember, whiskey before it goes into the process is essentially moonshine, right?
For sure.
And
Make
so
a hot dog, yeah.
Yeah, it's super powerful. They call that hot, right? So it's
Yeah.
just and so there's a bunch of whiskey brands in the South that are little guys that just said they want to get into the game and they make it and they have to, because of the nature of running a business, they're trying to rush to get a product out so they can generate some revenue.
Yeah.
But by doing that, they end up with a product that like you could clean a car battery with.
Right. Yeah, it's always really interesting, especially with whiskey and like the sourcing game. And
Yeah.
it's like if you are that new distillery and you do need revenue and you don't have barrels that have laid down for, even 36 months. I think that it's like the sourcing game, and because that's what we do. We find rum all over the world, and from my perspective, from the rum world, I think it's awesome what we do because it allows us to be like an encyclopedia to rum. But I think with whiskey, it's more difficult because bourbon, especially, is really defined by regulation of this is bourbon, right?
Yeah.
New American,
Yes.
51% corn.
Scotch is the same way.
Exactly. It's so regulated that if you are a new distillery and then you're coming on and then you're trying to also source a product to bring into the market, there's not a lot of variety.
Right.
And oftentimes people go to the exact same place in Indiana. And so
Yep.
it doesn't really create a lot of value for the consumer. Right. And so that's why I feel like you see a lot of these finishings coming through.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, this is an 8-year Indiana bourbon finished in XYZ at a certain place. And I think that's a little bit more intriguing when it comes to whiskey because it does add like another element to it. But I really think that, especially for a consumer base, like this whole bourbon community really needs to look into rum because it has all of the things that I feel like that whole community is really interested in,
Yep.
but with just like a little more complexity. And so like looking at an aged rum from like one of the like French islands like Martinique and looking at an aged rum from one of the traditionally Spanish islands, like Cuba,
Yeah.
like those two rums are going to be so completely different. And so
And what's that a product of? Just like
the environment.
Yeah.
Yeah, the places. Like that's why I think rum is so cool because it's a true representation of a place. It's closer in my mind, more aligned to something like coffee or wine. A wine from California and a wine from Italy aren't going to taste the same. A coffee from Brazil and a coffee from Indonesia aren't going to taste the same. And, you can say that almost like about everything. And it goes back to the same thing we were talking about with traveling.
Yeah.
Like a person from here we are in Alabama and a person from somewhere in Southeast Asia are going to be completely different people. And so for you as a person to be able to try different cultures, but also try different products, I think like the products from the places are a part of it. And so like that's kind of my real goal with the company is to be like a person's passport to the world through rum. And so I'd rather create like almost like an Avatar type situation, like a movie. Like that's kind of how I think about the company is it's being its like own little like 3D world where, once you drink half a bottle of rum, you're there. It's like that's your passport to this alternate universe where, you can discover all these different types of new experiences and wonders and beautiful things, and discover new environments that you didn't think were real.
Right.
Because if you think about rum, it occurs between the two tropics lines, or that's where sugarcane is mostly grown. And so it just opens your world if you're like a rum traveler to just the coolest places out there.
It's so cool
Like
to
we
have
need
you
some
talk about that because we definitely need to hit some more. So that old fashioned, by the way, I don't think I've ever had butter in a drink.
Oh, so good.
It gave it like
It's
a
like
depth.
it's like fat washing. is
Yeah,
what you call it.
yeah. Well, that's what I do when I take a bath every night. But so
That's funny.
what's so interesting about the way you talk about rum is like I am 100% a whiskey nerd, and it's easy to turn your nose up at other types of spirits because you don't understand the artisanship behind them. And when you're, I'll give you an example. When I talk to somebody about whiskey and bourbon, and the only exposure that they've had to whiskey is Jack Daniels, or some rot gut, from the bottom shelf of the grocery store, they don't understand the artisanship that goes behind it. If your experience with rum has only been
Bacardi, Captain Morgan
Spice rum
Yeah.
coming in reverse after a party in college, right?
Yeah, and that's the main competition we deal
Yeah.
with is people having adverse side effects to rum.
I think gin's the same way. So like I had a buddy of mine that's a big gin guy, and I was like, dude, I don't do gin.
Yeah.
And he was like, just give me a minute and let me.
'Cause
And then
there's some amazing gin out there.
there is some, but it's not the stuff that you're typically. I mean, in my head, gin was funky, was like black licorice vodka, is what I thought. And
I
then
thought
some.
it tasted like a pine cone. First time I ever had gin was
This
dude,
glaze.
that stuff's good.
It's good, but it is set up. I'm gonna have to send somebody to the microwave.
Yeah, so when starting Campesino and then throughout the development of the brand, the continuation of the brand, even to the point we are today, like I've always really taken a world view at it. We aspire to be a worldwide brand, and so looking at a market like the UK, the consumer over there is much more well educated and used to drinking rum than in the United States.
Interesting.
And like they're not big bourbon consumers. They're really drinking a lot of rum, a lot of gin, a lot of scotch. Actually they don't even drink a whole lot of vodka, which was really interesting to me. It was more rum, it was more gin, and it was more scotch. And so I always try to take an annual or maybe every 2 years I'll go and I'll take a bit of just like a research journey, and it not always looks like that on the outside.
I'm doing research
Yeah,
right now.
right,
I'm
right.
doing research right now.
I think it's probably the most important thing that goes into creating a brand or creating a product, creating a company is, sometimes you can find arbitrage where there is something that's happening in a place that is working really, really well that at your place where you're from has never even heard of it. Story of Red Bull.
Yeah. Ooh. Tell that story real quick.
I always forget the guy's name, but he's a legend. The guy who
Okay.
started, or the guy who, so he found and I'm probably butchering this, but there was a Chinese energy drink that he brought. I'm pretty sure he was from the Netherlands or maybe he was German. I forget.
Doesn't matter.
Oh, it definitely matters.
Oh, sorry.
Because he just died. He was a legend in the beverage game, but
Wow.
he licensed this drink and he brought it worldwide. And so like it just goes to show like this was it was a common thing in China. And
To drink like a mega caffeinated beverage.
yeah, and honestly I wish they would make like a really cool documentary about Red Bull.
Interesting.
It's such a cool brand.
It really set the pace for what there's like a million wannabes now. Right?
And the wannabes are crushing it too. And
Yeah.
Red Bull crushes it. I
Red
mean,
Bull's like it's a cultural thing now. It's so big.
Yeah, for sure.
So what's the vision for? Thank you, Jacob. So what's the vision for Campesino? Right? I mean, you have started a liquor brand, and I want to say this, and I'm not saying this because Hatton is here. Okay, I would have said this on my own accord. This is my favorite type of rum. Before I even met you, I had it. I read an article about you and what you guys are doing at Campesino. Don't finish it all. Give me a little bit. And
Don't worry, I got more in the
okay, I figured you probably have some everywhere you go. But I was like, all right, I'm going to give this a try, and it's fantastic. Like it tastes clean. It tastes like you're getting when you taste something that you feel like doesn't have something that's trying to make it too sweet or too whatever,
Right.
like it's trying to lean too far into something. I think your palate instinctively kind of knows that. And so when I had it the first time, I was like, dude, this isn't some kind of gimmicky, like this kid Hatton wants to like say he's a rum CEO and hit on chicks at the bar. Like he probably still does that too. But
No,
like
I definitely. Well, I mean, I
but
don't know,
like,
but
but it's great. It's great rum, and so I think great businesses come from phase one, great vision, right? Phase two, great execution. You got a great product here. You get a great product. Phase three is okay. How do we scale? How do we get this great product in more places? So where is Campesino Rum available currently?
we're available in Alabama, Tennessee, Georgia, Florida, and just now Arkansas.
Exciting.
Yeah, it's really cool, and it's like going back to what we were talking about with travel as well. It's just a really beautiful opportunity. I'm super fortunate for a million things. Grateful, just to be able to like travel around and see different parts of the Southeast that not everybody, even from here, would go and see.
Right.
Because, like you said earlier, Alabama's so flat. It's actually not that true. Like,
Oh, there's a lot of
Northeast Alabama, there's even a few cliffs out there. Believe it or not.
And the further you go on 65, the more topography you see.
Yeah, for sure. Like, even going up in like this one place I've really been kind of checking out is Little River Canyon.
I've heard
Have you
of
ever
that.
been up there?
No, I know I've heard of it, but I don't know
It's
where that
cool.
is.
Very cool. Not really touristy either.
Yeah.
There's just so many hidden gems in the world, and especially a state like Arkansas. Dude, Arkansas, most underrated state.
Really?
For sure. Like, I'm not even kidding, for sure. And I haven't even been there very long.
Yeah.
I've only spent
What's great about it?
the Ozark Mountains.
Okay.
Bentonville is like the number one, like BMX, like mountain biking city in the world. Like it's insane the type of mountain biking like investment into mountain biking.
Really?
Yeah, it's just like it's got a lot of space. I mean, I know that's like a weird thing to say, but it's like I love landscapes.
Yeah.
I love places with just like.
So New York's not your thing, right?
I actually used to live in New York,
Yeah.
and I think it is its own landscape for sure.
Okay.
And like
That's a different way of thinking about it. Like
for sure.
buildings and concrete and man-made stuff is like it's a different type of landscape.
Right, and I know we were like not technically supposed to talk about it, but urban base jumping, great example of that.
We can definitely talk about it. And if people are looking at your social media, which is at CAPT Rum Coffee, the whole reason that Hatton is on this show is because I read about him and I was like, ooh, an entrepreneur who started a liquor brand. I'm interested in this guy. Find him on social media, and I hit the follow button. And holy hell, like, you jumping off of buildings, jumping off of cliffs. Hey, today I'm in Zimbabwe and I just ate an ostrich egg, and I'm rolling down the Lahootie Hills or whatever, right? So you should definitely follow Hatton Smith. I saw you on thing. I was like, this is either a PR thing where someone has created a character and I'm not in on the joke, or
You are now.
I was
So,
right, or
an
you live the
accomplice.
coolest life ever, and I think more people should follow you on social media. Like,
well, I love videos, and that's a whole other thing. But when you get up into like an urban environment, the urban environment can just as much be as a beautiful, breathtaking environment as like a landscape up in the mountains. A little bit of elevation is so underrated. It's like,
yeah, it's tough. Well, for a guy like me that grew up in Florida, where 10 feet was like, ooh,
for sure.
my nose bleeding.
Yeah, but let me tell you,
like
downtown Miami, it's got some sick buildings.
For sure.
And
It's man-made.
Yeah,
right?
I know, but you get up into the Miami skyline because,
Yeah.
done a lot of work down there. And you know, you look over down, you get on a high enough building in downtown Brickell, and you look out over there, and it's breathtaking. It's so beautiful. Like, there's a reason why, you know, people live in penthouses.
Yeah.
Like, it's a really cool. That's a really cool thing.
I think it's like a different feeling you get in your body when you're that high up,
Yeah.
right? You think, like, I've seen these videos of people that live in these like top floor penthouses in New York overlooking Central Park, and I'm like, when you sleep in those penthouses, does your body know
that it's
that far up off the ground? Do you just as a human being, do you instinctively know, or do you just get normalized to it and you go, whatever? You probably get normalized.
I think it just offers perspective.
Probably
Like,
depends on the windows
when you
in the place,
yeah,
right?
But I feel like, and this goes with, you know, multifaceted, multi-dimensional type of thing. But if you get far enough away from something, and you can see it, you can understand it a lot better. And so I think that it's like one of the beauties that base jumping offers is it offers this opportunity for you to kind of see everything out there.
What is base jumping, by the way, for people that don't know?
It's a fixed object jumping, so it would be different than skydiving, where you jump from an airplane, but in base jumping you either jump for.
Look how annoyed you look. He's like, "Oh God, I'll explain it to you."
I gotta remember, well, it's like, you know, it's a definition. It's actually an acronym. You probably didn't. I don't know if you knew that.
I didn't know that.
It's an acronym. It stands for building, antenna, span, which means like a bridge, or earth.
Wow.
Yeah. And so you either jump from a building, a antenna, like a cell phone antenna, a bridge, a span, like anything that connects one.
Have you jumped from all of these?
Yep.
You have.
Yeah, and actually, they gave
favorite jump you've done so far? I want to hear that. Come on, just give me one of your favorites.
Look, you get this.
Holy shit! What is that?
It's a license to kill, my friend.
Base jumper, United States Base Association. So you have to be given a card. What does this card do for you? Because I don't know that.
What were you saying about talking to chicks at the bar? I'm just kidding.
No, you're not kidding. Let's put this on display.
No.
Right by the Campesino Rum. So
that's funny.
I mean, okay. So now that the rum's kicking in and we're getting loose and things are flowing,
You ready to go jump off a building?
I'm not ready to jump off a building. Like I'm not sure what I would need.
I got a lot of
that.
rum in the truck.
Like, but here's the question. Like, the Smith family and Royal Cup, that's a generational entrepreneurship story. And when was Royal Cup founded?
It's 1896.
1896.
Yeah.
Okay. Founded by?
So it was actually founded by a guy named Henry Batterton.
Okay.
So at one point in time, it used to be the Batterton Coffee Company. And so it didn't come into really our family until Henry Batterton died in a car crash. He died in a car crash, and my grandfather ended up...
grandfather's name was?
William Eugene Smith.
William Eugene Smith.
Mm-hmm. The first.
The only.
No, because there's a William Eugene Smith.
Oh, wow. Excuse me.
Jr., and there's a William Eugene Smith the third. And there's also a Hatton Valentine Smith, who's my father. And I'm actually Hatton Valentine Smith II.
So I think a lot of people that click on this show, by the way, are going to be thinking your father's a pretty well-known dude.
Everybody
known for jumping on tables and doing crazy wild things, and
he does jump on tables.
He jumps on tables, and I'd love to have him on the show sometime. But I'm starting with Rum Hatton because that's kind of the kind of guy I am. But like, I mean, Royal Cup is a generational success story, and what's so impressive to me, right, is when you watch. Most people are not successful. A smaller subset of people can become successful for a period of time. A much smaller group of people can become successful over their lifetime. An infinitesimally smaller group of people can watch their children and their children's children do great things before somebody lies in the street in a pile of cocaine and they've wasted their life away.
Or rum.
Or rum. No, listen, rum might be the fuel to do the good stuff, right? I don't know.
No, that's a good point.
But
true.
What sort of things did you learn from your dad and your dad's dad that drives you? Because you could have easily, Hatton, been a dude who just goes around and flashes that green base jump card out at girls at the bar, right? You
No,
didn't
I'll
have
save
to,
it for podcasts. No.
but you didn't have to be a guy that starts a company and is like trying to change the way people think about like a centuries and centuries old concept of rum, right? And you're trying to change the way people think about it, and you've kicked out a really great product. Like, where does that come from? Because to me, it has to come from like what you learned from your dad, what you've learned from like what your dad's dad did. Like,
Well,
where does that philosophy come from?
I don't know. I've never met my grandfather. He died when my dad was, I think, like really young, like 18 or 20 or something like that.
Yeah.
And so, very grateful for my family and for my father. And we're very different in a lot of different ways.
Okay, you jump off of things.
For sure.
He jumps off tables. You jump off of buildings.
He jumps on tables.
He jumps on tables.
Yeah.
You jump off buildings.
I'm gonna remember that next
Yeah.
time he asks me a question. But I think when it comes down, especially what he does, is like there's a lot of discipline and there's a lot of energy.
Yeah.
And so when it's just like a pressure washer. When you funnel a lot of energy through a tight window of discipline, you can get a very strong thing come out of it. And so if I was to self-critique myself, and I'm sure my dad loves that as well because he does it to himself, he does it to me, but he would say that I need more discipline.
Yeah.
And so especially when it comes to family businesses or long companies or just ways of doing things, you need to be a little bit German. You know what I mean? You need to be a little bit Swiss. You need to have a little bit of discipline because it just doesn't get done.
I didn't like, but I totally get what you're saying.
You know what I mean?
I know exactly
For
what
sure.
you mean.
And that's why I love
You
Switzerland.
need to be a little bit
Swiss
German.
Yeah, well, I love the Swiss German because then it's like you get a little bit of Switzerland, you get a little bit of Germany. It was a safe haven during World War II, and so it's like this is a place where we get things done in the mountains, and that's why I love that there. But if Campesino works, and it does,
Dude, it's working. What are you talking about?
For sure, but if it, I mean,
Well,
it's all
I'm
perspective.
fascinated by what you just said right there, because to me, this is. Let's talk about this for a second, and I need to go glaze the chicken in a second. But we're in a good moment, so I'm going to keep rolling with it. You have an amazing product, two products. You have an aged and you have a silver that I don't have on my table here because I called you over here to come hang out. I was able to buy some in the store, and I'm able to buy some in the store in a bunch of different states. And so like the average person that has not started a business listening to you say that would be like, it's already worked, right? And so I'm curious to know what your definition of Campesino Works actually means.
Since the beginning, since the start of the company in August 2019, my mission is to change the way that people think about rum.
How do you measure that?
You measure it with openness to explore a non-additive rum, and so like a true drinker's rum.
Non-additive rum. Okay.
Yeah. So
does the average person know what that is? Or
probably not.
Probably
I
not.
don't know if they ever will.
Is that your mission, to get people to know?
My mission is to really change the rum world. Like you've seen it, and that's a really, really broad thing to say, but you've seen it happen in bourbon.
Yeah.
From Jack Daniels or, like Rock Gut, like you mentioned before, to, I mean, dude, your bourbon cabinet's insane,
Yeah.
And, like, also, it's insane for Alabama, which
Yeah.
is...
Oh, I've been in ones that make me look like
for
an amateur.
sure. Like, you go to Kentucky, and there's this
Oh, yeah.
crazy... Same thing would happen with tequila. One point in time, it was just... Oh, tequila, it's a shot thing, it's whatever,
right.
whatever.
Suck the lime,
Yeah,
whatever,
Don
yeah.
Julio, and then Patron came through.
Yep.
And Patron was different.
And Sammy Hagar did his thing.
Yeah, and he was a blip on a map compared to a guy like George Clooney with
Correct.
Casamigos.
Correct.
And, who's almost about to be outshined by The Rock with Terramana. And, like,
Crazy.
both of those are not additive free. Right? So is that going to be the mission? Because I don't know if that's ever going to happen. But you just see brands that come through and they just change a category, and that's what we want to do with rum. We want to come through the rum category, and we want to just disrupt it and change it, and really bleed it down into down to the consumer level, where now people's opinions of rum are different, and they drink rums for different reasons.
I love it. All right. I want you to help me glaze this chicken. So let's walk away.
Yeah.
I'm not going to step on my dog who's down under my feet. You probably heard her barking earlier. So the chicken is almost ready. Man, it is pretty much ready. So we're going to glaze these bad boys here. I'm going to let Hatton do some of the honors
All right.
here. Whoa, whoa.
You know, I've never been famous for my cooking.
Yep. This is so the glaze. Yeah, let's undo the thing. Yeah, the glaze. Just pour it. There you go. So guys, this glaze again: 1 stick of butter, 1 cup of brown sugar, and then a ½ cup of Campesino aged rum was phenomenal. It tasted like the candies that your grandma gave you back on Christmas. Hatton's doing it pretty good. This is the first time in the history of slow smoke business that someone else has been doing the work at the grill. So I want to want to just throw some love to Hatton Smith right now.
I'll say I've never been. That's probably why I don't have a girlfriend. I've never been famous for my cooking. So you get what you get, and you eat it.
You get what you get, and you don't put your fit. Look at
You
that.
see that?
But that's probably gonna be the best one. All right, so we just had like a. Alex, can you see that on the camera right there? That's good. All right, so I'm gonna empty the glaze out, and my grill is gonna be a smoky mess after I'm done with this because all the sugars and everything.
Is so good.
But we're gonna let that settle up, and we're gonna be eating some chicken in just a second. So this is already one of my favorite episodes of all time, by the way.
It's probably because you're drinking rum.
It's probably because I'm drinking rum, but. You know, I still don't think I fully understand like the vision. You want to change the way people think about rum. But if you like, so what does that mean exactly? Does that mean that you can go to any bar in America and order a Campesino on ice and they know what they're asking for? Or does that mean that there's a million little Campesino becomes the name brand? Oh, that's the good rum.
I really want to be the entryway.
Okay.
So like the gateway drug.
Okay.
So I mean, it's less about Campesino; it's more about rum.
So you're not doing it for the money; you're doing it for the game.
I mean, dude, what would I do with a bunch of money but what I'm already doing?
Yeah.
I mean, and
if we gave you $1 billion, you would probably jump off a taller building.
I was actually thinking about this last night. It's funny you brought it up. Right now we're in Alabama, and it is mid-November, early November, something like that. The conditions are optimal if you're a foliage seeker.
Foliage seeker. Okay,
For sure, right?
Yeah.
Looking for pretty colors and trees. Seen a decent amount of foliage in my day. I'm looking for other stuff. So if the only thing
what does that mean?
It means if only thing I would do differently if I had $1 billion would be I would go and I would probably dedicate like either 1 year or 2 years or however long it takes, and I would commit to conditions. And so I would travel around the world and I would find the peak conditions for whatever it is I wanted to do at that particular time. And I asked someone this last night, and I'll ask that question to you. Before your grill catches on fire.
Do you smell the smoke? Right, I smell the burning sugar.
For sure. Where do you go this time of the year? If you do have $1 billion, where are the peak conditions? Because Europe is similar.
Yeah.
Have you ever spent a lot of time in the southern hemisphere?
No.
Well, it's spring right now.
Oh.
In some so the southern hemisphere is huge. So there's places like Australia, there's places like South Africa, there's places like the Seychelles, there's places like Brazil. You ever been to Brazil?
No, I have not.
Put it on your list.
Really?
Anyone watching, put Brazil on your list.
Brazil's on the list.
For sure. The flight's expensive, but once you're in country, it's cheap.
I don't think the average person understands. Like, the flight is expensive. I don't think the average person I'm a little nervous about the smoke, by the way. Hold on, let me check the chicken here.
I swear, like I
It's
said,
getting
man,
a little.
Once you gave me the, oh man, that looks so good though.
All right, let's get these chickens off of here because I'm I'm a little nervous that the chicken's
Those
definitely
things look-
done. But I don't want to call the Hoover Fire Department.
I would love to call the.
Who would you call?
No, I would. Yeah, no. If we did a podcast and you had to call the cops because I was here.
How does Hatton not have a podcast? That's what I want to know. You're not in the same place long enough to do a podcast.
Yeah, no.
Dude, if there was ever an episode to say, oh, I got to watch the video of this is the one.
That looks good.
It really does.
It really does.
You guys getting some close shots of this? Ooh. Ooh, baby.
Those look so good.
Yeah, well, we're about to dig in. We're going to let them cool for just a second, and then we're going to hit some rum glazed. This is an all-timer for slow smoke business. So, Hatton, man, let's make some room on this table. Hatton, what would you say to people if you've got somebody watching this show and they're like, man, I want to start a business. I want to live. I got a vision. Hatton is into rum, but I'm into something else.
Right.
I'm into blank, right? What would you say to that person?
It's funny. Somebody asked me that yesterday. I would always recommend. Not everybody is meant to jump off a cliff. Not everyone is meant to start a business. To do a very critical self-assessment because it's a tremendous amount of risk.
Yeah.
That you don't only take on for yourself, but you also take on for your family and your loved ones. So I can do all this stuff because I'm single.
Yep.
I don't have a lot to lose. So when you don't have a lot to lose, you have a lot of freedom to do risk things. But number 2 would be to find out what you sort of classic likes to do, whatever that passion is, because you're going to do a lot of it. And it's going to be a marathon. And don't try and sprint it out, because I tried to sprint it out in the earlier days. And believe it or not, drinking rum every day can kick your ass.
I mean, I can't imagine being productive that way. By the way, Matthew, if you could turn the grill off, because it is that it just hit the power button right there. We got a pellet grill, so we can hit the power. Yeah, the sugars on that are making this a very smoky affair. Here, thank you, sir.
I hope the cops come.
Yeah, I don't know if the cops will come. We get loud, the cops will come. If we get smoky, the fire department will come.
I had a party once in the fire department. Did you know that a fog machine will set off a smoke alarm?
What?
Yep.
I did not know that.
Now you know.
If you fog it up enough.
Yeah. So one day I fogged it up enough.
Wow. So that's the look, here's the thing. We're about to get into this chicken, and I gotta have a fresh pour. Holy moly! Did we kill this thing? I don't know.
We did.
Oh my gosh! All right.
This is what they do in the fancy culture. Oh,
Ooh,
actually,
there's a little bit more in it. Put that in your glass. What are you doing? So, all right. Here you go. Here's you a knife and a fork. We're gonna just pick one of these bad boys, and we're gonna dig in, and we're gonna see what we got. What are you doing? You throwing it upside down?
Yeah. So that's the move, and see, that's how you can tell if there's really.
Ooh.
Sometimes you gotta.
Oh, okay, ladies and gentlemen, Hatton Smith, Campesino Rum founder. Bottles up. I love it. And this bottle, you said, is an OG bottle.
Yep, that's one of the originals.
That's one of the originals, and I did not even realize that when I bought it. That's awesome.
Save it.
I'm going to.
Tell your friends.
Can I get you to sign it?
For sure.
Hell yeah. All right. Grab the fork and knife. Let's go in.
I'm really, honestly, not very much of a fork and knife guy.
You're not? Oh, what is about to happen right now? He's taking his jacket off. He's got the Campesino shirt on. What? Hold on. What's about to happen? He's not a fork and knife guy. You're about to burn your fingers.
Yeah.
He's going to go chicken skin. You got the glaze on the top. This is an all-timer for the Slow Smoke Business Show.
This thing's hot.
Yeah. What do you think? Can you taste the glaze, or are you only getting the rub? In case anybody wants to know whether or not what we make on this show is actually any good, let them know.
Super good.
Oh my God. So,
whoa, that's
did you
great.
get the sugary rum reduction on the top, and then the smoky, kind of salty, briny
for sure
chicken and the meat? Oh my God.
You got to be stuck in rainy November.
That's right. So it's raining out here.
Drink rum at 10 a.m.
Drink rum at 10 a.m. So this is we did this at 10 a.m. Also not something I could have done if I was not employed by myself, but this works.
Benefits. There are benefits of the risk taking.
All right, so last piece of advice you're going to leave to people. Somebody here, he's 22 years old, he's whatever, he's in a place in his life where he's like, I'm trying to decide what I want to do with my life.
It's way more fun. Just do it.
Just do it. Just go. So
you'll figure it out.
Just go for it. Just start.
The human is so capable of so much more than I think the human realizes. That, man, yeah. Like, whether it's in athletics or in entrepreneurship or in anything you want to do, just do it. Like, Nike nailed it. Just go for it. Send it.
I love it.
Talk to the pretty girl.
Jump off the building.
Start the business.
Start the building.
Worst thing happens is you die, and that's it.
All right. Before we go, first of all, clink the glass one more time. Campesino rum, especially the aged rum, is 5 levels of incredible. Thank you. If you don't like rum, you will like this. Go check it out. Campesino rum, available in all sorts of states in the Southeast. More coming, right? And where can they find this brand online?
At Campesino Rum. Also, if you're not in any of the states we distribute, you can go to shopcampesinorum.com. We'll ship it right to your door. Campesino
spells C-A-M-P, like camp, E-S-I-N-O, Campesino.
For sure.
What's the name? Where'd that name come from, by the way?
So it actually means farmer.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
So like when I was living down in Panama, I used to kind of like live out on like the very back section of this farm, and the only guys that would live farther back in there, and it backs up to the jungle, were the campesinos. And so like those became like my uncles.
Nice.
They became like, they were my neighbors. They would come by, we would trade rum for food. They became like my drinking buddies. And so because of that, that's
Campesino.
Why yeah,
I love it.
Yep, absolutely.
That's legit. All right. And if they want to follow you on social media, where do they find you?
Captain Rum Coffee.
CaptronCoffee. Captain Rum Coffee.
Yep.
And watch him jump off of things, most of them authorized. Not necessarily. Hey, listen, look at him. Oh my God. Okay. Folks, this has been an all-timer episode of Slow Smoke Business. If you found something valuable in this episode, hell, even if you didn't, please tell your friends, send it to somebody who might get some value out of it. Follow us on social media, follow, 5 stars, all the good things, and we'll see you next time on Slow Smoke Business. Thank you, Hatton.
It's good. That really is.